Today, much like I've done in the last few days, I'm just kind of pointing out a few things that the sell side is saying right now. MK, for example, did a 100 investors conference in the US. They have some thoughts. Macquarie did an FI meeting with 30 EU investors, and I thought that was very interesting. So using Macquarie and Morgan Stanley to just briefly mention what's happened. So Macquarie is saying that investors are looking to deploy money into the Indian markets post the corrective move. This is across EU investors, by the way. And they say that India is, according to investors, India is a structural story and China has structural issues and at best is a tactical short-term play. A view of many, if not all, which is interesting. And hopefully at some point of time, this means that flows come back into India. Morgan Stanley's Chetan Aya, and we'll do a separate Morgan Stanley piece on what the equities team is saying. But Chetan Aya has written a note today wherein he's saying that why India is best placed in Asia. And he says that the reversal of the unwarranted double tightening of fiscal and monetary policies will help drive the recovery. Monetary easing is hitting full throttle across three fronts: rates, liquidity injection, and regulatory easing. He says that India is less exposed to trade tensions on account of its low goods exports to GDP ratio, something that Sonal spoke about as well. And policy support, which will turn around its domestic demand outlook, will allow India to outperform. Now, this is on a fundamental basis, growth basis. Does all of this translate into some gains at some point of time in the future? Sure. And we'll talk about the Macquarie note in detail a bit later on. But I must say that sell side almost unanimously is now starting to say that the valuation pain is starting to feel discounted and global investors that they are meeting are at the margin, are definitely not negative on India anymore, at the margin are selectively turning positive on India. Sure, instances like IndusInd don't help.
Yeah.
But
the issue is that if all things were stable, definitely we are in oversold territory, definitely you're at the bottom, but then you have this overnight pain which suddenly comes and whips up. So
and valuations are becoming attractive for India as well, correct?
But that's my point here. Valuations are becoming attractive. All things considered, it would have been time for an uptrend. You just don't know what's going to happen on the global end, which is why it's becoming so difficult to predict.
I think people are not really wanting to bet on uncertainty right now.
Yeah, and uncertainty it is. But talking about positive views, I just want to bring in what Lawrence Belanco is saying on price action from CLSA before I get to the top three stocks on my radar today. They're saying that the index is showing slowing downside momentum. He's talking about the Nifty. Suggests downtrend off December highs is mature and vulnerable to a reversal. The combination of a slowing downside momentum and support has provided platform for rebound rally, with supports at 23,263 to 23,460 zone and resistance at 24,031 and 24,795 to 24,857 zone. So keep that in mind on the technicals as well. But let's get to the big story this morning, and there is no bigger one than what IndusInd has done. We've been going on and on about IndusInd. It's a thumbs down, clearly. If you have missed the news, let me take you through what's happened. It was already 4% down yesterday because the MD and CEO got just 1 year extension instead of the 3 that was expected. Now, from what they have revealed in the evening, one can understand why. So for one, IndusInd is under the scanner on their derivatives trade. The bank is revealed in an exchange filing, and then they had a conference call as well. We'll play out a clip from that. That internal audits are on losses on their derivative trades. The losses could be up to 2.35% of the bank's net worth. That means the hit could be as high as 2,100 crores on the upper end. Now, this derivative trade was something which was being conducted not just by IndusInd Bank, but for a while by banks, by their treasury departments as a hedge to foreign borrowings by banks. This was stopped in 2023 by the RBI. But even after it was stopped by the RBI due to a circular, the trades continued in IndusInd Bank for 10 months. And now they have figured out 10, 11 months later that this was going on. They have been talking to the RBI about it, but no intimation to exchanges or investors. And now there is an audit going on this entire situation. That's the worrying part. Why was this under wraps? In fact, listen in to what the bank's MD and CEO Sumant Katapalya has said on this.
I think very difficult to answer this question. We have done all our due diligence when we've come and disclosed it. I think it's an estimate right now because the validation is still happening. And as the validation gets completed, we will come and disclose the number. In my view, I think the number should not be so much difference. It should be range bound, like you said, but very difficult to answer that question accurately right now. RBI continues to do thematic reviews in an organization. So they continue to KYC reviews, they continue to do loan asset reviews, they continue to do microfinance reviews, they continue to do credit card reviews, they continue to do corporate bank reviews. So it's an ongoing process with RBI. To say that I think there is nothing material right now which is happening to my knowledge, and I don't think we are to be worried about. That's for the regulator to answer, and I think of course this would have had a bearing because they were aware of this issue. We actually there was some inkling towards the issue, and I think I don't know what is the rationale for them to give me 1 year, but I think they're uncomfortable with the way my leadership skills of running the bank is, and we have to respect that. And I think this is a litmus test that for the bank as well as from a succession point that we see how to take the bank forward. I don't think the BAU of the bank will suffer. I don't think our growth agenda will get off the track, and I think I remain committed for 1 year to the bank. And I think let's see how the process goes. The board will evaluate external as well as internal candidate for the CEO position. I don't know whether they evaluate me or they evaluate somebody else. That's for them to decide.
So what are brokerages saying this morning? They're saying this is another significant negative, that's the word from Macquarie, on IndusInd Bank. Current issues raise questions on internal processes, create questions on the robustness of bank's internal processes and compliance. Believe this could be one of the reasons for the suboptimal CEO tenure extension. Essentially, the CEO got 1 year because of instead of 3, because this was one of the reasons, is what Macquarie says. Channel checks seem to suggest that such kind of losses are possible when the book is not fully covered. And as per some treasury heads of banks, the new RBI accounting rules cannot solely explain the discrepancy. It has a large market share in NRI deposits and has been offering higher rates to customers in the NRI segments, is something that Macquarie also points out. In fact, the segment of deposits for NRIs is 58,600 crores and rose 39% year on year for the third quarter of FY25. So they're seeing some difficulty there. Morgan Stanley, meanwhile, says visibility on the stock continues to reduce. Over the past 3 months, the CFO has resigned, CEO has been given a shorter than expected tenure, and now we're made aware of a big loss in the derivatives portfolio. So painful, guys, on IndusInd Bank. And then, the question that you pointed out, Niraj, is this only an IndusInd Bank governance issue? Then the contagion is it's contained.
Yeah.
Then the problem is contained.
Yeah, but difficult to make a case for the bank nifty in such a scenario, right? Cheap stocks, yes. IndusInd Bank 0.9 price to book, but difficult to say if this is the end of it. So, and hopefully it doesn't spread to others. But suffice to say, a lower circuit today on open, and then maybe more.